Hello, my name is Mae Whittick. Welcome to Her Conversations, Tools for the Awakening Woman. Her is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. This is the optimal state to embody in order to attract our highest desires. Who's the awakening woman? She's a woman who's seeking a greater possibility in her reality and looking for solutions. She knows being awakened is not a lofty ideal, but a necessity. If she can transform herself, she can change the world. Her conversations will introduce you to talented women who will speak to your spirituality, sensuality, and soul. They share their stories and explain how they are in service to the world. So let their words and these conversations embolden and inspire you. This week's episode is a solo episode with me again, and I just wanted to bring forward a message that I feel inspired to share. It kind of relates to what's happening with myself, what I'm seeing reflected out in the world, or if I'm seeing what's out in the world reflected in myself, and the steps that I feel that I've had to make, and in order to inspire and move forward with the work that I really believe that I've been called to do in my life, that I need to be more vocal and more transparent and visible about what I'm doing. And I appreciate that is a very scary proposition for most people, because the minute you step out, then everyone sees and knows what you stand for, depending on how open and how vulnerable and honest you choose to be. And I think that seeing the way that things are at the moment, across the world, most people have been in lockdown, quarantine for well over a month now. And it's given a lot of people the opportunity to really slow down. So they're out of their normal routine. And for most people, their routine, particularly from Monday to Friday, is a very busy routine. It's you get up, you go to work. If you have kids, you're dropping the kids off at school, you're kind of getting your work done, and then you go home in the evening and you rinse and repeat, and you do that. And maybe at the weekend you might have some time to do something that will fulfill yourself, or just, you're doing the errands that you can't do within the week, and then before you know it, Sunday evening, and you're starting again. So that is the reality for many people. And now that we've all been given the opportunity to sit down and rest and just wait and see what's happening in the world, what is arising is a real reality check for everybody. Firstly, it's a reality check in your own life, the way that you're operating in the world. You're getting a chance to sit down and go, okay, this is what relaxation feels like. This is what spare time feels like. This is what not being stressed feels like. Also, this is what my relationship really looks like. And this, there's good and bad in depending on how you want to label it. But I think peace and clarity and relaxation has allowed the truth to arise. And also what it has given us the opportunity to do, whether we've decided to do this consciously or not, is, as we're completely relaxed, is to start to just ask a few questions. And if you've been following the narrative that's been unfolding, particularly around the coronavirus, you'll see that people are starting to ask questions. Something doesn't really add up in what they're seeing and in what they're feeling. It's, it feels like there's not, the full story is not being told. And being in the question of something as opposed to just accepting one version of events leaves room for possibility to enter into your life. So as a result of that, those people who are really questioning what's going on, and also have some level of expertise and knowledge around that, are feeling called to actually come forward and say something's not right, to point out that, you know, the emperor has no clothes. There's something here that, based on my knowledge and based on my gut instinct, based on what I see and based on what I'm hearing, there's like a disconnect. They're feeling that something isn't adding up here. Something doesn't feel right, and I can't be complacent and just sit and allow it to happen. I can't use the excuse of having to go to work or being too busy or consumed with my own life as a reason why I can't do anything about this. We have all the time at the moment. Most people have all the time to look and see who's speaking about what, and we're asking questions, and we're turning within our peer group and saying, what do you think, what have you heard, and people are sharing bits of information that they're hearing, and not everything seems to pan out as 100% fact. But having said that, the fact that we're just not blindly accepting one point of view is in itself an intelligent way to go when it comes to information, because what is transpiring, or what is revealing itself more and more, is that the numbers are not adding up. People who are in the midst of, you know, the caring, or the people who are in the middle of who are expert medical professionals are kind of trying to weigh up exactly what's going on. And even people who have had members of their family or people that they know pass, and know that they pass for one reason, and then seeing that it's been written as something else, are just feeling that they need to just come forward and say, hang on a minute, something's not adding up. This is my experience. Also going forward as well, what we're seeing is then that there seems to be a way that we're being steered towards, that is it possible? And it seems so outlandish, but, you know, is it possible that our freedoms are being slowly stripped away from us, and then will only be returned to us if we comply? And our compliance is compliance with a vaccination, which on the surface of it may seem like a good thing to do. But then when we start to think of, but what does that really imply? Because then it's not that we just get a vaccination so that we are immune or cured from this virus. It's also that potentially there's a trade-off. If you choose not to do this, then your freedoms and your access to life in itself, being in public places, traveling, the things that we enjoy as part of our lives will be taken away. And because more and more people are looking at this and thinking, is this the way that we're going? Is this what it really means? They're standing up more and more, and it's the awakening of humanity. I truly 100% believe that at this point in time, now that we're not just blindly accepting everything that's coming towards us, and we're looking around, and whether we do it mindfully or purposely or not, we are meditating and thinking about things on a deeper level, giving some more time to that unease, that gut feeling that we feel within ourselves, and think, hang on a minute, this doesn't feel true. And then those of us that are feeling the call are actually stepping up and be bold, and are able to then voice their opinion, even if that means that just voicing it, you know, to a friend or in a WhatsApp group or on social media, and then taking what comes with that, because then to go forward is then to also face the resistance of other people. Because there's a saying goes, the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. And a couple of the pieces of the harder truth that I think is going to be difficult for many people is facing up to the fact that everything they've built their life around, the paradigm that they've used to create their life around, based on the information that they've given, that they've taken on as factual and truth, much of that may not be as we believe it to be, and then that's going to involve a retraction into who can I believe, what can I believe, and then dealing with the hurt and the shame that you've been betrayed on such a level that someone would dare to do something like that to you. Also taking on board the fact that the truth may be darker than you want to actually admit exists in the world. We also, we know there's good people and there's people that do bad stuff, but we never really delve into the evil of the world, really. And if there is to be an arising, if there is to be an awakening, as we go closer towards the light, then we're also going to be dredging up the real deep and darkness. And as with anything, as with any kind of detox, anything that we've suppressed on any level is going to come to the surface. A basic detox is, you've got a hangover, so you feel awful the next day. And all of those toxins rise up and through the body, and then you're over it. But if you choose not to ride the detox of a hangover and just continue to poison yourself, then you're never going to come through. So yes, we use food, television, shopping as a distraction. But also another way of using a distraction is the bypassing distraction, where we are jumping into the love and light and the unicorns and the rainbow and the everything but looking at what is actually happening and dealing with our own healing. There's people who don't want to look at the shadow and just think by running to the light that the shadow won't follow them. The shadow's behind you and you have to take notice of it. It doesn't mean that you have to stay there for any great length of time. It's just that you have to acknowledge that that is part of what it is and see it for what it is. Because then when you know what it is, then you can actually have a clearer relationship of forgiveness and sovereignty. And I'm taking this setup from a Magenta Pixie, who I love the way that she put it, is that until you actually look at the dark, then you can't claim your sovereignty against it, because it's a relative position, and you can't claim to forgive and have all the love and light if you don't know what you're loving and lighting against. We can't just sit in a bubble of loveliness and not truly accept what has happened. So the awakening is happening. People are seeing that who we've looked to feed us information, feed us our food as well and our health, have not necessarily always had our best interests at heart. And as we're finding our voices, this is a moment of stepping into a power that we didn't realise that we had, and it's, trying on that new shape and those new shoes and what it means to actually be seen and clear your throat and talk even with a little bit of trembling in your voice. And that's something that I've had to do and realised that I've had to do and will continue to do in whatever way, shape or form. Stepping up and voicing your opinion is also stepping into the possibility that you may be seen as wrong or you may be wrong. But if it's something that is really pressing on your mind and on your intuition, you cannot leave, then it is really worth your while voicing it, because at least you know that you tried and you followed what that means for you. And then you'll know within yourself that you did what you didn't ignore the voice inside of yourself as well. And that's where that came from. This all came from me starting to collaborate with another platform called the Great Awakening Report. I discovered them just in my own research of really exploring what the truth is of what's happening in the world right now, what has been happening alongside the official narrative that we've been given for, as long as anyone has been alive, really. and just finding out so much, and much of it is touted as conspiracy or red pill, and quite derogatory, rude terms, really, by people that don't even want to acknowledge that there's a separate line of a story that, at the end of the day, like we're saying, these could or could not be true, but certain things have been persistent for years, decades. And these lines of inquiry and research and the voices behind it will not go away. More and more people are stepping up. And what seems to be an indication of truth is that people are coming forward and saying precisely what they truly believe, and their voices and their opinions are being shut down. And it makes you wonder why the platforms that we use to connect with ourselves are censoring our opinions and our points of view when it kind of veers away from what they believe, when they're doing exactly the same to us, and they're censoring what is happening and what is being said and creating a narrative and feeding that back to us. So there is a war of sorts. There's a battle of sorts, in terms of it's a battle and a war on truth and consciousness. And we have an opportunity to stand up for what we think is right and what we believe is right, because if we don't, things are not going to get any better. And if we believe in a better world, if we want to see a better world, then we have to be instrumental in how we create that. And if we want it to be a beautiful, truthful thing, then we need to start digging away and finding what the beauty and the truth is right now. For me, it was seeing somewhere where I could lend my voice, where I could be around people that were more knowledgeable than I was as well, which is always the space that I like to be, because I always feel that there's so much more for me to learn. I took a moment before I even, I'd find them, I'd had communication with them, but there was still a part of me that was saying, is this the right thing to do? It means kind of really revealing more of who I am than I probably have before, even on this podcast. And what came back to me was the lyrics of my own song that I wrote many years ago called Attraction. And there's just a couple of lines in the bridge of the song where it's, I'm going to put my fears on hold, going to step up and be bold. And that lyric actually just came and presented itself to me. It's like, what are you thinking about? This is something that feels right to you. This is something that you can see yourself adding value to. It's an opportunity of something that feels like being part of a historical point in time, that it just felt too important, in terms of like too necessary to just look at it and then just turn away and go, I'll just kind of do my thing. I couldn't do that. And for that reason, I felt that it was the right thing to do. And not necessarily saying for yourself that stepping up is going to be, starting your own podcast or doing Instagram or Facebook lives or whatever that might be. It may just be that stepping into a bolder version of yourself is being open to somebody else's conversation about what they think is happening, just being open to that, and sometimes that in itself is a big space from being completely closed down. Opening up emotionally to people within your life that have probably not had an opportunity to really get to know the real you. This is a bold move. Changing your life as you're sitting in lockdown and waking up day after day and, just feeling more rested in the body. And even if you're not, going out there and changing the world as yet, I'm sure that you've just kind of thought of, okay, when we go back, and I truly don't believe there's any back, but when the world opens up and we step into life, what's that going to look like for me? Am I prepared to continue the things that I felt were definitive of who I am, or have I changed, or was I on the cusp of change? And this moment in time, this pause in time, has given me the opportunity to mull it over a little bit more. Will I be content going back to work in the same way? Is there something that I want to start as well as do that? Is there a different perspective or truth that I can bring to the job if I do return there? My relationships, romantic or otherwise, are there shifts that need to be happening there? Am I with the right person? Have I not noticed the person that I have with me, and is this an opportunity to get to know them better and be better? Are there any unhealthy habits that I need to change? How am I feeding myself mentally, as well as how am I feeding myself nutritionally and also spiritually? Do I feed myself in those ways ever at all? And this in itself as well, people have been complaining about the world for a long time. Things need to change. We need to do something different. This leader, that person, don't like what they're doing there. And we've been asking for something new. Something new's coming up. But if we just allow it to be steered without saying anything, then it may be more restrictive than we ever knew. It may be that our freedoms are taken away from us on a level that, just at this point in time just feels like a fantasy, but it could be more. So I think for us, the time is on us now where we can be armed. We can be armed with new knowledge and new understanding, new compassion, new forgiveness, and new strength as well. We need to get to know ourselves, understand and really look at the parts of ourselves that we've been hiding, because when we were able to do that within ourselves, then we'll be able to handle whatever truth starts to arise in front of us. We can then also recognize that everything is a reflection, and as much as we may not want to own up to it, that what we see is part of us, and what has happened is because we've allowed it, because we've become passive and complacent, because we've been kept distracted. But because we are waking up now, can we go back to that? Because we've seen how it's got us to this point. So that's this week's episode. And, if you have any points of view, I'd really be interested in finding out where you're at with this. And you can find me on social media. @Casmic is the Instagram. My website is carolmaewhittick.com. It's carolmaewhittick.com. You can email me at info@carolmaewhittick.com. Or if you go to the website, there is a message box at the back that you can fill in with any thoughts. And I really believe this is an opportunity for us to step up and be bold and create something new. And because I've referred to it so much, I'm going to leave you with Attraction. And until next week, speak soon. Take care. It's cool.
I wanted to fight it, but could not deny it. Then it got stuck to me like a needle on a magnet. Cannot skip the source, feeble to the force. It's attraction. Try to let it go. Wherever I went, it would follow. Latched itself to me like a summer evening shadow. Cannot skip But I